So the first thing that is achieved through this divine love is your benevolence. Now, benevolence itself is also a kind of a very misguided word. Benevolence means whatever is good for your spirit. Now, as you know, the spirit is the reflection of God Almighty. So, when the spirit in you starts reflecting itself in its full beauty, then you become the giver. You are no more a person who has to take anything. You just become the giver. You are so fulfilled. Now, this advent came at a time which was judged. What time it should come? As I said, you had freedom. People were going amok, doing all kinds of things. So, if you see that just before this, we had a big problem of people working out their power. Like people would go to India to occupy the territory of India, or to China, or this side they went up to Africa and all these places. Even Americans went to, so-called Americans, went to America and occupied it. So this was the time when they were using their freedom for power only. That was not the time for the Adi Shakti to be born. They were the people who were power oriented. Not that today we don't have. Yeah. But these were seeking only power and also these territories, which is not important. So it could not be at that time. At that time one had to fight for your freedom, for getting out of the clutches of these imperialists and people who were trying to overpower. Now, gradually it changed. Can you put it off? It changed, and changed in such a smooth way. It's very surprising. I saw the change coming up myself. It worked out. As you know that I myself took part in the freedom movement of India. It's important. India started. In India it started. First the freedom from imperialism. And then gradually this freedom from imperialism started spreading in every country. People started thinking about it. They started understanding that no use having colonies and all that, better come back to your own position. So when this happened, this happened in my own lifetime, I must say. First, people who tried to have freedom in our country died. So many were killed. We had people like Bhagat Singh. In every country, all the revolutionaries were thrown out and were ill-treated and killed. It's not a question of India. But that one had to go through. So their freedom was tested. Now they thought this was nonsensical thing we did. This was no freedom. Because after all, doing all that, then they started repenting and developing a kind of a fear and a fright from others and kind of a, what you can call a very disturbed left Vishuddhi started. They felt that very guilty, that they have done very wrong, they should not have done. At this juncture, also there were other problems, like we had caste systems and other problems in slavery and all kinds of things, disparities, and some people were treated as lower people, some as higher people, some higher races, some lower races. All these stupid things were there. Through their freedom, they created this. Through their freedom. It's not so. It's not the fact, it's not the truth. But they created a thing like that. Now supposing I want to create something here just to say that all right, this is not a carpet. Go on telling you, this is not a carpet, this is not a carpet. The brain is washed. You see, you think, oh, this is not a carpet. Suppose it's something else. It's like a mesmeric thing, I feel. The way people accepted this nonsense of racialism, of all kinds of disparities, of slavery, of caste system, and especially ill-treating women. All this came out of the choice that was given to them to select what is good, what is bad. So to them it was very good, you see. It was a nice thing to do. Under these circumstances, compassion would have been wasted on these people. Divine love would have been a waste on them. Because mentally people were not prepared to understand. You could not tell them that this is absolutely out of your blindness, ignorance, you are doing this. This is not the right thing for you. This will not make you noble. This is ignoble. You are doing ignoble things. Of course, so many saints came, they talked of nobility, of forgiveness, of unity, of oneness, everything they said. Big seers were born, they also reached that point to talk about it. But still people were not prepared so much. Gradually, I think their teachings and all that started working in people. But the biggest problem came with these so-called religions that they started. All religions got derailed. And they formed kind of poodles, you see. Muslims here, Christians here, Hindus there, this is this, this is this. So you really needed this river of life to fill up all these poodles and make them one. It's complete ignorance, it's sheer stupidity to think that one human being is higher than another. You can only say one thing, that at a different state you are. Some are at a different state, some are at a higher state, but in general you cannot condemn somebody that he is no good, this society is not good, this society is good. In general. Individually you can say. In general you cannot say. But this ignorance was so dark because it became collective. It's a collective ignorance. Collective ignorance. They all joined hands together collectively to say that this is the religion that is the best. We are the only ones which are saved ones. Another said, no. These are absolutely condemned people. We are the best. And under the name of religion, under the name of God Almighty, they started this nonsense. So now, Adi Shakti had to assert, put the complete force. So, the first thing she realized that one should know what is a family. A child grows in the family. If the children do not get the proper attention from the father or mother, we can say if they are also spoilt, or if not spoilt, if they are overindulged into, or they are neglected, then the child doesn't know what love is. If a child doesn't know what love is, love doesn't mean that you spoil the child or you give him lots of toys to play and get rid of him. It means that all the time your attention is on your child. And that attention is not indulgence, but an attention for the benevolence of the child. So all the time you are seeing that there is benevolence. And thus, I thought the family life has to be, first of all, substantiated. It's very important. Because these days also, under the name of religion, they have started nunneries and then priests and then sannyasis and all kinds of babas are there. They are so dry and they are so misleading to people that people started taking to this kind of sannyasa, getting out of their houses, running away from their wives, their children. So the first point I realized, human beings cannot have love who haven't known what is love is. And this love is more effective if it is collective. See, we must have seen that in India people really love each other in a family. I mean, so many relations, we don't know how we are related to them. We just call them brother, sister, this, that. We don't know what is the relationship. So whose father was whose sister, nothing. But we just feel this is our brother. And if you ask how is he your brother, you wouldn't know how is he your brother. The reason is we had joint family system. The joint family system just like a collective system. So nobody knew who was whose real brother, who was his step brother, who was his cousin, nothing. They all lived together as just relations. But then this also broke. This joint family also broke because of economic reasons and things like that, whatever it is. So now at this time, when see this very crucial time it was, when the people had to know love and the family had started breaking in every country, especially say Western countries. For men and women never realized the importance of family life. They never had faith in their family life. So it became such a shifty thing for poor children. They were on shifty grounds and they couldn't grow properly. So they created a generation of violent, horribly possessed children. This generation then went into warmongering. They don't know, they feel like fighting. I've seen children fighting with a tree. I said, why are you fighting? It's nice to fight, But why are you fighting? They don't know. The reason, there is no love. So everything that you see, you detest. I don't like it, I don't like it. Detest everything. You try out of your frustration to destroy anything that you see. So a new trend started. Apart from the war, when it was over, naturally the value system dropped out. People felt, what's the use? We see, we had all these values, so what did we get? War. And war, what is the war for? War has just killed all our societies, they have killed our children, everybody. And what is the great about these wars also? So the mind of the people on the whole was that, you see, somehow or other, you must fight. Like the fittest man is the best. So the one who can dominate, the one who can come up is the best. So the domination of these imperial style of government was over, but individually it became a process of domination. With this process of domination, ego started developing. Even to children, they used to give education in such a way that children became very arrogant, very artificial, extremely arrogant and artificial. It was impossible to understand why these children were not at all controlled, were told that this is wrong. Because the parents also took a very, very defensive attitude. They would not face their children and tell them what is wrong. They were so attached to their idea that these children will leave us that they said, all right, do what you like, but stay with us. Under these circumstances, even human beings as such were dwindling between a good family life and divorces and a funny society which believes in sharing women or sharing men and all kinds of things. So what a terrible situation was there for Adi Shakti to assert herself. Then also there was very big problem about these religions asserting themselves, their own ideas, their own conditionings on people, and absolutely blinding them. So it was a turmoil. It was a turmoil, and at this turmoil state only, Adishakti had to come to establish the dharma. She had to work it out to establish the dharma. It was a very shifty place, very shifty sands were there. But when I was born, I was shocked the way people were. At that time, I don't think I met many seekers. Of course, I met one or two realized souls. But mostly they were worried about their insurance, their money, their this, that. But if you talk to them, you would not know. Where have you come into some wilderness or what? You didn't know what to talk to them. How could you start telling them about divine love when they were not seekers even? Then gradually, I felt confident. First I thought I have come little early. I should have waited slightly more, would have been better, because here the people hate everyone and every individual is against another individual and they are cheating each other and they are also very jealous of each other and also want to have higher positions and this and that over others. They want to pull everybody's legs. So maybe that there's no yet time for Sahaja Yoga to start. But then I saw all these horrible false gurus also throwing their own charms on people and trying to control them. That made me really think that now I better stop worrying as to what the atmosphere is, worrying as to what sort of people there are. Let's start. And that's how the first Brahmarandra Chetan took place in India. That's 5th May. And 1970, 5th May, in the morning time. Of course, it had also some events which made me hurry up to do it. I was quite ready. I knew what was the problem of human beings is, but I thought that maybe they may never accept that they can get their self-realization. Now, this incarnation is really a very unique type. So many incarnations came. They came, told you everything like words and said, this is good, this is good, this is good. Some people who were enamored by them followed them. But nothing was inside their heart. Whatever they heard, all right, it's a sermon, it's a lecture, it's a Gita, that's all. And the life of such a person didn't have that spark of the divine love within that person. We have had lots of good people during this short time, if you see. See, if you see, Mahatma Gandhi was there, Martin Luther was there, all kinds of people you see all over. Abraham Lincoln was there, George Washington was there, we have William Blake was there, we had Shakespeare. All this time, you see in the literature, in every way, Lao Tse, then we had Socrates. We start from Socrates to today. We have had lots of philosophers, lots of people who talked about higher life. Despite that, people were thinking these are some absurd people. There's nothing in it too much to understand. Nobody would read anything about, say, Guru Gita. They would not. They would think that what's this nonsense? What's the use? It's all humbug going on like that. With This attitude, you see, you find all around. When I looked, I said, wow, how am I to tell them what you are, what they are, and what they have to find? And it was really my desire that there should be some keenness in people, just little bit. If they give me a little chance, this divine love is so subtle, it will just penetrate into their hearts. But they would not. They were just like stones. You couldn't talk to them, you couldn't tell them about anything. And they thought no end of themselves. That's the worst part of it. Under these circumstances, Sahaja Yoga started. And there I find that the powers of Adi Shakti are much greater than the problems you see. I saw it very clearly myself. Because these powers are awakening the Kundalini. I knew I can awaken the Kundalini, no doubt, I knew that. And also knew that I can do it en masse realization. But I could never think that people whom I awaken will come back again. Because, see, they are ignorant people. I never thought that they'll come back, they'll practice Sahaja Yoga, or they'll go to this level. Never thought. If somebody had told me, I would have laughed at that person. Exactly what happened was that when I gave the first lecture anywhere, that hall would be finished, everything would be finished, nothing to do with that hall. I was staying somewhere else. The hall was taken on hire. And follow on, of course, very few. So I thought that, you see, it doesn't go into their heads. It just goes over their head, I think. They don't want to understand anything. They did not understand it. Under the great pressure, you see, I had the family problems, this, that. That was not so important. The most important thing was that how to penetrate into human man. So the only solution was to raise their own Kundalini, to create that little light in them. Because if I go on sitting down with the idea that they will come around and ask me for Kundalini awakening and then I will awaken them, was a wrong idea. I could realize that. So, our mass realization started. And this really surprised people. It was no magic, it was not storytelling, but it was the truth. They could feel it on their fingertips. They could feel it out of their fontanel bone area. It's the actualization of Sahaja Yoga has worked the wonders. Otherwise, it would have been impossible. All these wonders that you see today are because your reaction, because the way you reacted, the way you received it. Otherwise, Adi Shakti is what? Good for nothing. If you do not accept, I am nothing. When you start the actually, it is again, I say, your wisdom, your sense, your seeking has brought you to Sahaja. I never write letters to anybody, I never call anybody. That all gurus do that. As soon as they go to any city, they write it down, the names of all the important people, and then they send them letters and get about 2-3 at least for such programs. But without doing all that, you see, how we have managed this Amas Kundalini awakening, by which people started understanding Sahaja. It started penetrating into them.